Hi, I'm Don.
And hi, I'm Cindy. Welcome to Pearls of Liberty, November 24th, 2012. And we hope your Thanksgiving was blessed and warmed by friends and family, loved ones. And this week there was supposedly at least some kind of a peace agreement in Gaza, some kind of a ceasefire. And evidently some of that is conditional upon U.S. interaction in Syria. So we're not exactly sure where that's going.
Well, I did read that there are going to be U.S. troops deployed to the Sinai, which interrupts Gaza's lifeline to supplies from Egypt. So we shall see what's up with that. Unfortunately, I don't think that this is going to be a simple end to the story. This seems to happen every 4 years or so, where this world's largest outdoor prison in Gaza gets mowed down. And not saying that the Palestinians are completely innocent, but the first thing I suspect is false flags that give the Israeli army an excuse to attack. So we wish for truth and peace to come on all sides, and for the end of the fighting and the bloodshed, especially for all of the children that are in harm's way. And we say, bring peace soon, but not at the cost of greater death and greater limitations on liberty. We were created to be free, and we want freedom and liberty for the Palestinian people as well as for the Israelis.
We watched an interesting film that has to do with a passion for freedom, and we came across it thanks to a weekly newsletter that we received from a Christian prophetic man in San Francisco, Richard Gazowski. And he mentioned this film, and what he wrote about it was very encouraging to our situation in the U.S. with the U.S. corporation and dark, black ops aspects of our government seemingly taken over. So we watched the film last night. It's called Farewell. And thank you to Richard Gazowski who mentioned it. And it's not just a film. It is a story about what we hope can happen in America at this time.
Well, it's a true story about the fall of the Soviet Union and the leaking of the spy network that caused it to go down. And we've heard, of course, several different variations and account of the fall of the Soviet Union. And yeah, it's possible it probably wasn't one single thing, but this was an absolutely critical thing that we hadn't heard of before. And it makes a lot of things make sense. The whole perestroika and openness, glasnost, that came from the leading Gorbachev and the administration in the former Soviet Union before it fell apart. That was all necessitated because their whole spy network got leaked and was completely exposed, and so they had no choice but to be open. And that's what this film discloses. There were several things going on that led to the fall of the Soviet Union, but this was one of the most crucial, and something I never knew before. It makes total sense that perestroika and glasnost would come about because the spy network of not only the KGB but all of their infiltrators worldwide, the whole network was leaked by somebody who gave his life that the world would change. He knew it would change the world, and he was doing it for the good of his people because he knew that they had become very corrupt and were not advancing humanity worldwide, the Soviets, and this man wanted a new revolution, and for his son, for the future, And we need that similar kind of dedication today, and the willingness to be considered a bad guy by those who want to maintain the status quo. And we have reason to believe that that's happening.
What we have heard, and we've mentioned a little bit about it as we've done our weekly videos, is that there are people working behind the scenes in a similar way in the government in our country, the United States of America, currently, to displace the people who have taken over. Just to name names, mostly the Bush family and those whom they control, and the Rockefellers, of course. I mean, it's easy just to say the cabal. That these dark forces have, in a spiritual sense, have kind of established a sort of throne in this country and have really taken over the day-to-day operations. And everything that's happening in this country is colored by this evil influence. And it seems like this influence takes a seat in different parts of the world. And a clear example, of course, is Nazi Germany. It's not as easy for us to see what the depth of the evil is, because our day-to-day lives are more or less the same. Now, if you fly and you have to go through TSA, you become very aware of this tyrannical noose that is tightening around our necks. And this man in Russia sensed the same kind of tyrannical noose tightening on everybody's neck and found a way to cut it. And as I mentioned before, we've heard and we've mentioned here that there are people working in this country to remove the noose of tyranny from around our necks as a country and allow us to have a fresh start as the American Republic. So we'll keep tabs on that, but this film is evidence that self-sacrifice and a willingness to take huge risks is a necessary part of this process toward freedom.
There are things that you can plug into now. There are all kinds of movements. I like to continue to monitor many different blogs and put out a lot of tweets and Facebook posts to help increase awareness of all of these issues. That's about the amount that I can do in the time that I have. If people have more time, you might plug into one specific group and get very involved in that. There's Oath Keepers, there's other liberty groups that Union States Project is up and coming, and other activities to help get our country grounded back into the liberty mindset that was the foundation of our nation. There's all kinds of different groups. If you follow my posts and the blogs that I monitor, you'll become aware of many of them. A lot of different activist organizations, news organizations that are truly grassroots, that are springing up. We Are Change is a great example. Of course, Alex Jones Infowars is not as grassroots. It centers around the Alex Jones, but he has a tremendous grounding in the truth in terms of understanding the false left-right paradigm and the whole. There are so many people that have a part of the truth, but Alex really has a broad spectrum of it, and it's great to expose yourself to that. And some people need to get past the style, but there's a lot of great info there, a lot of great people working in that group, Infowars.com. So the first step in overcoming evil is it always uses the deception, and the truth is a key thing. So you'll find that at the bottom of lots of different conflicts, there is deception involved. And just get your sensors tuned, get a true sense of history, get some books about the understanding history from a conspiratorial point of view. Years ago I read The Unseen Hand. That's this book. That get informed, because things are happening all around us that don't make sense unless you understand that history is not a series of random events, it's planned. And then once you understand that, then you can begin to plug in and be effective instead of spinning your wheels. And a lot of the structure that the controllers have arranged is designed to keep you spinning your wheels. So you want to get the understanding that will help you get out of that, and then you can plug in and be truly productive in groups like End the Fed that go to the root of what the issues are that enslave us and keep us from being all that God created us to be.
As Don has mentioned in the past, large groups tend to be easy to assimilate into and direct into something that's not the originally intended purpose. So be cautious about large groups. The Tea Party is a good example. We have some friends who are active Tea Party people. We love them. We see their passion, and they share a lot of our vision for what this country can be like. But as Americans, in many respects, we're so used to being able to trust leaders that we just will plug into a group and then put ourselves on autopilot and just coast with the group wherever the group goes. We can't afford to do that anymore. No matter what group you're in, especially as groups become larger and have more influence, there's a need to continually question, what's my role here? Am I being effective? Where's the group going? What's our reputation? It's not that reputation matters, but when sometimes a reputation is the first mirror that we get, that maybe we're not actually living the life that we want to live. Someone begins to say something about us that can be put on, can be slanderous and not true, but it's worthwhile to at least consider criticisms of groups that you're in. And once things start to go in a direction that is no longer the direction of liberty, if you're close enough to the top, interact and challenge people. And if you're not, find a better place to invest your time and your efforts. And many small grassroots movements are making a lot of progress. We Are Change is one that it doesn't seem like it's been co-opted at this point. And there are lots more. And just this man in Russia who, although he was involved in the government and he was able at a high level to get information that most of us don't have access to, at the same time, it's such a wonderful example of how just one person can begin with a passion to make decisions that will promote liberty and that will help fellow man. And it can be very significant. Never underestimate the power that you have to live a life that emanates liberty, and then how that impacts and brings about change is beyond any means that you have for measuring it.
I also want to mention that the movie, of course, takes place in the early 1980s, and there's tie-ins to the culture of that day. The son of the informant in Russia is a fan of Queen and Eddie Mercury, and you have scenes of him imitating him. So it's really quite interesting when you see that this guy just wants freedom for his son. That's how it came about. That was the manifestation of it. Might not be your idea of freedom, but we have to give each other the freedom to experience breakthrough creativity, and that was how it came about for this young man. So there's interesting father-son dynamics in this, where the son has no clue in the beginning, and then at the end he begins to understand what his father was all about. So it's a good movie, and of course it's true, so it's all that much more amazing.
Speaking of breakthrough creativity, we've also talked in the past about the potential for an overhaul of the world banking system. And Don recently came across some information from a very solid source about the IMF discussing potential debt forgiveness. So this would definitely be breakthrough creativity on a very large scale. So we're hoping that something might come of that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we're really seeing signs that this whole financial structure, global financial structure, isn't as tightly controlled as the people that put it in place wanted it to be. There's creative thinking involved at high levels in the IMF, and that manifested in this article that we'll give the link to, where there was a paper written which basically corroborates all of the things that Bill Still is saying, and the American Monetary Institute is saying, Stephen Zarlinga's group, that they're saying that our current system of private backing of public money systems goes back to the year 1666, but before that point in history, you had countries controlling their own money supply, which is, if you think about it, that's what people think is going on, but it really isn't. And that's the whole root of the problem. As I mentioned earlier, the Federal Reserve, people now know, is a private monetary institution that's raping the people. And we need to go back to a national money system that is owned by the people. And this is now, in a recent paper by the IMF, they're saying, yeah, this would make a lot of sense. Debt would be wiped out overnight, and we would have a fresh start, a reset. Currency would be backed by the resources of the nation, etc., etc. So there's it makes a lot of sense, and we want to continue to put those ideas out there, because the alternative that is seen by a lot of liberty-minded people of Austrian economics and extreme austerity, and going back to a gold standard type system, that would mean extreme contraction of the monetary supply and extreme deflation and a great poverty and stress for many, many people. It doesn't have to be that way. Money is a commodity that can be controlled by the people, and as long as it's open and transparent, the whole system, and it's based on equitable means of valuation of the resources that are owned by the people of a nation, then there doesn't have to be that extreme deflation whenever you have a reform of the monetary system. And it's coming, but we hope that this crash can be cushioned, and there's good reasons to believe that it will be. But these are the things that the power structure behind the scenes are fighting about now, and we believe we will see the new thing emerge within the next several weeks to months. And our hopes are that it would be in the direction of this IMF report that will definitely cushion the blow and will enable us to get back on a new system that's owned by the people, and that will wipe out the debt and give us a fresh start.
We tend to have a very short view of history, and when you said 1666, I'm not certain of the year, but I know it was in the 1600s that tally sticks were phased out, and the Bank of England was the only financial institution that was recognized, the only means of trade, if you will, that money in England. And tally sticks had been used from the 1200s until then, and had made possible much of the flow of finances that fueled the Renaissance, particularly in England and that part of the world. So there have been historically, there have been successful financial systems that worked outside of the structure that we think of today as being the only possible financial structure. So we all need to just open our minds, become bigger, become more expansive in our thinking, because new things are going to happen. And it's not that these things have never happened in the world before, but we tend to think that we're on a track, that we're sophisticated, that we're civilized, that we're modern, and that our ways are better because they're modern. Well, if we look to the past, there have been other very successful, I don't even like to use the word civilizations because that comes from the civil code in Rome, and that's actually what we're trying to break away from. But there have been groups of people who have been able to live together in great success and prosperity, and that's what we're hoping for.
And I just want to say again that Benjamin Franklin went on record saying that the cause of the American Revolution was that we were not allowed to create our own currency. The British took, the king took that right away from the colonies, and that was the true underlying cause of the American Revolution, the ability to create our own monetary system and to own that as a people, colonial script. And people who study history recognize that once the British got wind of that as the source of our prosperity, they went into the counterfeiting business and destroyed that. So it's well recognized that something that is publicly owned but that otherwise is not valuable, it's paper, that is actually an excellent source of monetary system that empowers the people. If you value currency, if you make money out of a commodity such as gold, then all you're really doing is artificially tying human productivity to what you can pull out of the ground, and that doesn't make any sense. People think that, well, it has inherent value, but it really is only the value of the people that pull it out of the ground that you're valuing. And there's no reason to tie society's forward momentum to our ability to pull stuff out of the ground and in the mountains of California or wherever, and then put it in the ground in some vault in New York. So think about money. It's not what you probably thought it was. When more and more new inventions come on the market and we're going to want to produce those things, creativity requires a fresh input of financial capital, and that can be created out of nothing by the people. It's backed by the productivity of the people, the need to create new items that came out of the creative resource that is humanity. We are wealth creators, inherently humans are, because we produce things that never were before, and when they begin to be produced, that requires the exchange unit that's in existence to be expanded. And that's what happened with tally sticks during the Renaissance, and that's what will happen again. So open your mind. Money is not just gold and silver and something that you can see, hear, feel, and touch, but it does need to be controlled openly by the people, not by a private cartel.
And we are going to have a further discussion today about land use under the Georgian economy ideas, but that will be a separate video. So look for that as an accompaniment to this video if you're interested. But we want to, just for the sake of time and how long the video becomes, just do a break here. So we do thank you for joining us for Pearls of Liberty this week. And if your mind is open and if you feel bold and daring, take a look at the Georgian economy video as well.
See the world the way that it really is. See yourself in it. Walk your walk. You are the one that you've been waiting for.